Welcome to the Latino Podcast, where we amplify the voices of Latino professionals, entrepreneurs, and leaders coming together to educate, inspire, and connect across one of the most dynamic binational regions in the world. Bicultural, premium, powerful.
Hey, San Gomez, welcome to the latest episode of the Lawtino Podcast, where we discuss the intersection of law in our Latino communities. We have with us as guests esteemed attorneys, judges, government, political leaders, business leaders, thought leaders, all coming together to talk about this intersection of law in our Latino communities. This episode, as always, is brought to you by your sponsor, Gomez Trial Attorneys. Gomez Trial Attorneys is a national consumer rights law firm that serves consumers in both the English and Spanish language equally at the very highest levels of representation, providing services related to personal injury, employment harms, civil rights violations, dangerous products, sexual abuse and assaults, and class actions. I'm joined today, as always, by my co-host, David Arreguin, who is a lawyer here at Gomez Trial Attorneys, heads up our cross-border practice. We're really committed to providing that representation to our neighbors and friends on both sides of the U.S.-Mexico border. We have a strong belief that, we are just one community. And so David originally was a guest on the podcast. Now he's with us. Now he's a co-host. And, given our, attention to this cross-border dynamic, and I always hear about David's high school all the time, it's particularly appropriate that you introduce our guests here today.
Yeah, of course. And thank you, John. And for our guests, I was originally a guest here, and I call that an interview. I feel like John just wanted to see how I performed in public and speaking and all this.
Thankfully, I don't need a family law attorney, so do not treat this as an interview today.
So yeah, our guests, the binational ties, Mauricio Reznik, an attorney here, who went to the same school that I went to down in Tijuana. And
wait, I never hear this school. What is this school? What is this called again?
I'll give a little shout out to Instituto Mexico.
Yesterday we were in Tijuana, and I heard that name probably 30 times because everybody we met, we came from there.
I guess that's the place to be, right?
Yes. That's what I keep saying. And we also have Dolores Contreras, a family law attorney in town. I understand you have other practices. And basically, we want to hear from both of you guys. Your practices, your story, your relationship. So if you can give us, a brief introduction about each of you, we would really appreciate that.
So I'm Dolores Contreras, and I'm an attorney practicing family law in San Diego for, I don't even remember anymore, maybe 18 years now at this point. So it's been a while. I started my practice back in 2009. So it was quite a bit ago. And I'm born and raised in San Diego. So been here my whole life in Oceanside, but I do come from a Mexican background. My mom was born in Tijuana, and my grandmother was originally from Michoacan. So I grew up at home speaking Spanish, northern part of San Diego in Oceanside. I did not go to Instituto Mexico.
Where did you go to high school?
I went to high school at El Camino High.
Okay.
So, yeah, in Oceanside. So grew up with farm workers. So my mother came from Tijuana at a young age. My mom came to the United States at 13. And they went to Oceanside to essentially, work in the farms. So that's where I grew up.
Perfect. How are you, Mauricio?
So my name is Mauricio Reznik. I was born in San Diego, but I grew up in Tijuana. So I actually grew up in Tijuana. I did all the way through junior high at the famous Instituto Mexico. And I always knew I wanted to work in the U.S. U.S. citizen, I always saw that opportunity. And in my head, it was, I always want to go. And so we decided that high school was the best point to go. So I went to high school, to uni, which is now Cathedral. And after that, honestly, my decision is, where am I going to go to college? And for some reason, I felt that I needed to get out of the community to explore, get a little bit out there. So I went to Tufts University in Boston. So I was over there, and I double majored in economics and international relations. From the beginning, I was always interested in businesses. I liked law, but businesses to me was very much of a calling. And from that point, I knew that San Diego was always going to be the end point, but I wasn't ready yet. So I pivoted. I went to San Francisco, and I went to school to USF Law, became an attorney there. I practiced for, I want to say 3-4 years up in the Bay Area. It was in a small law firm. They primarily did med mal, but my brother was a doctor in another life. My brother's a doctor, I'm sorry. In another life, I also thought about uh, potentially medicine. So it was perfect. I dealt with that, did with that for a couple of years. And then I decided, hey, it's time to go back home. So that's when I returned to San Diego. And interestingly, I started working for Dolores. And
She
that's
was your
actually,
boss?
she was my boss
Oh,
originally.
man. Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And so when you did the interview, uh, did you do it in a podcast format?
I mean, I should have. That's apparently the way to go, right?
Yeah.
I should have. No, we actually, we practiced for many years together, and just as colleagues. So there was, I don't know, maybe like 4 years, something like that. So when we actually eventually started dating, it was like, wow, like we never saw this coming. It wasn't one of those things that initially just kind of happened. So it just kind of grew into that.
Yeah, no, and very fitting to this podcast and what we're discussing. Well, hopefully I came in for other reasons, but the real big reason is Dolores was in charge of that point of a very big, I say, cross-border case. It was a development in the Rosarito Ensenada corridor. You've probably heard of it, but there was a couple of lawsuits of projects that were not completed, and a lot of the buyers were U.S. buyers. And one of those things that you deal with cross-border. The contracts were in Mexico. Why isn't the lawsuit in Mexico, right? But actually, they were claiming, hey, the representations were in the U.S., so we should get access to the U.S. courts. So we actually defended the developers in the project in the U.S., and it was a pretty big case. I want to say about $60 million or so. We're defending the developers over here for that project. A couple other big players in the arena, but that's how we really got how we got to know each other, working long hours, as John knows, David, trials, multiple trials, long processes, and that's how it started, and getting involved a lot with cross-border and international issues.
Yeah, I think that's how we worked around the clock because I think we ended up having about 4 trials on that case, and each of them were about, it's 4 jury trials, about 3 to 4 weeks each one. So we were just back to back, just, in it working. And I think that's where our relationship formed.
It can either, like, that kind of pressure can either create a close relationship or destroy any relationship that preexisted. So it sounds like you guys did a good job of working together, seeing each other's strengths. And just, I don't think it's been mentioned yet, but these two are now married. And so it's a funny story or a nice story about how we got here.
Yeah, I guess it worked out well. And then Mauricio, I feel like I have something in common with you as well because you said that you were interested in medicine. So at one point during college, I was in between like, okay, should I go to law school? Should I go to medical school? Thankfully, I went to, law school, but now I focus on the medical side of the legal system, right? Basically protecting and, representing our injured clients. So very interesting. Yeah. So now we have more stuff in common other than Instituto Mexico.
Yeah, I think did you ever contemplate becoming a doctor?
Absolutely not.
No, me neither.
Absolutely not. I think I knew right off the bat anything having to do with blood, I'm out. So absolutely, blood and needles, like I am not involved. So that was, when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do career wise, that was the first thing off my list. I was like, no medical school. And I was like, what's left at this point, right? Because it wasn't something that I grew up saying, I'm going to be an attorney. Like, this is what I want to do. I was in college and I thought, now what? I went to UCSD. I was like, where do I go from here? What do I do? And I saw law as something that it's very useful. Everybody is going to need a lawyer most of the time at some point, whether it's a contract, whether it's in medical, whether it's in science, whatever it may be. And I saw that there was such a broad range of practice areas you can do. So I figured I'm going to go to law school and then I'll figure out where I kind of fit in from there. So that was my start as to going into law school.
UCSD now, I don't know if you're aware of this, they have a very active pre-law group for Latino kids thinking about going to law school. Like they do a really, really good job. They have a big conference. They have all these events. So probably we're going to plug you into that because I think you would be a great, probably they didn't have that for you.
They did not have that for me. No, absolutely not. But that's absolutely wonderful because I think that so many kids nowadays and always, it's just so hard to decide. I mean, how do you decide what you want to do when you've never done anything, right? So it's tough. So I love the fact that there's just so much out there now to expose the younger generations to different careers and different opportunities and open their eyes to, things that may interest them versus just being a, YouTuber or an influencer.
Yeah, and I feel like even in law, like we recently had in the podcast the Dean of Admissions at California Western, and he said that what was the applications now like just
They're
going
up, yeah, they're up through the roof.
and I guess it has to do with the political times, just the times, the economic times, and people are just applying like crazy to law school, which I applaud them because it's a great profession, something that I really admire. So good for them, right?
Yeah, I'm for sure glad that I made the choice I did, but I'm also glad that I applied and got in and got through when I did.
Like back.
Yeah, because these kids today, man, they're animals. So this group, I'll give them a shout because some of these kids like listen to the podcast, is the Society of Hispanic Students in Law at UCSD. And so probably I'll connect you guys on social media. And I think, they're always looking for speakers and leaders and that kind of thing.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah,
That would
for
be
sure.
absolutely wonderful.
Amazing.
Yeah, I feel like especially like in this area, right? Like when I went to law school, there were not a lot of efforts. Even like in high school, like no one tells you about law school in the US, right? That's actually something that I'm working on. So I'll probably pull you, Mauricio, because I want to give like a panel of how to study in the US or become a lawyer in the US, become a doctor in the US. Just make it easier for kids in Tijuana to actually do that transition because it's different, right?
I agree 100%, and I would love to help you out with that because from my point of view or my background, I'm actually the first one in my family or my generation of family to do the full college experience in the U.S. So when I was going to go to college, I was like, well, where do I go? And ignorantly, I was like, well, I just want to go far from here. Well, Boston sounds great. So I applied to all the schools in Boston just to get out of here, but I really had no idea. And I get there and it's like, what's your major? Well, what is a major? And you're getting into that entire system. And I had, good grades and everything. So luckily I got in. But then after that, it's, well, we got to do this all over again in LSATs and in law school. What do you mean? And so it's an interesting process, and you definitely got to learn. And having someone in your corner can help you, give you background experience. It's a wonderful tool. So yeah, definitely let me know and glad to help.
Yeah, I just want people like once they get here to actually study and stay here because I've seen people actually like come here, be here for a year, and then go back to like a school in Mexico, which is great, but it's like a year of energy that you already put into a system that you didn't really understand.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like we just got to do that. So thank you for that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I like Tufts great school, and Boston's a great town. Like I feel like, that must have been a nice experience for you. Like my kids are all about basically being as far away from me as possible, So I imagine, most of them are going to end up, somewhere like that. But how was that for you, coming from Tijuana to uni and then going out to Boston?
Funny story. I loved Tufts. I loved my experience in Boston. I actually go back for a couple of different reasons, but I love the town. I'm still in touch with a lot of friends from college. But the funny story I was getting at is it's such a change of worlds. One thing is living in Tijuana and going to school in San Diego and driving back at the end of the day. Your activities, would cross every single day, similar to Joaquin. I think he was telling a story. So we had that life that a border brat, Joaquin was calling it. We would cross the border every single day. And we got I actually lived through the 9/11 crossing the border. So I had to stay in the U.S. Yeah. So what happened is I had to stay at my uncle's house for a couple of weeks because you just couldn't cross at that time. It would take half a day to get to school. But the point I was getting at is once I got to Boston, I had a great roommate. He was from St. Louis, and I'm here Mexican, and I'm at bed, wake up in the morning, and I would tell my roommate in Spanish, "Hey, turn on the TV." And he's like, "Mauricio, English, remember?" It just my brain wasn't ready or used to being English 24/7. And it's you gotta adapt to the process. But overall, Boston is a great town. Tufts University, I love it. It also has a great amount of international students. So I think that helped a lot for me as well as part of the process. And honestly, I had my international group of friends, and then I had my rowing crew group of friends, and then I also had a fraternity group of friends. So you just gotta take the best of all those opportunities, right? And I think for Boston, for me, it was that, getting used to all those opportunities and learning different experiences.
Perfect.
So are you guys, you now have separate firms, no?
We do.
Oh, so what's the name of your firm?
My firm is Contreras Law Firm.
And what's your,
And my law firm is Reznik Law Group.
okay. And are you guys located near each other physically or like in the same?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
oh, that part hasn't changed.
That part hasn't changed. We're actually in the same suite. So we have a floor here in downtown San Diego. And he essentially has one wing with, his staff, his people. And then I have another wing, with
With
all
your
of my
people.
Exactly. So there
And
are
how do
days.
the people get along? They'd be like, oh yeah,
So it's
we're with
funny.
the better team.
Ye-
Because I
pretty
know they
much.
can be cliquey, even with you guys probably.
A little cliquey, but not much. We like to say that we are two firms, but we're one family. So even at at the firm where he's got his wing, got mine, but everybody just blends, and it's almost like we're all just everybody asks each other for help, assist each other. So we do operate to a certain extent as though one family, but firm wise, it's he's got his own entire system, staff, own payroll, everything's completely separate. But I don't know, I like it. It works. I mean, there are times, even though we're in the same space, there are days where we don't see each other at all. A lot of days. Yeah,
That's good for a marriage.
it is. So people ask, how do you guys work together? You go home and then you're working all day together, and it's like we're under the same roof, but think of it as like a whole different office. He's over there, I'm over here. We drive to work separately most of the time just because of schedules with kids, or you've got your own stuff going on. So, under the same roof, but just very, very
You're
separate.
doing your side of the house is doing family law. Like it looks like you have a particular focus and expertise in what I would call higher value, maybe.
Yeah, like high asset divorces, a lot of cross-border stuff too. Yeah. So we do a lot of divorces. Divorce, custody, um, domestic violence cases. They interlap a lot. So that's our main focus. We do have somewhat of a civil department, but there are cases that overlap with the family. So they are what we call Marvin action cases, which are people have been in long-term relationships but maybe never got married. Certain promises were made, so it's essentially like a breach of contract case. It's done in civil, but it's almost like getting like a civil divorce.
Oh,
Yeah, so it gets
I didn't even
messy.
know. Like so me and David are married. No, we're not married. We're not married. We're just living in sin.
Yes.
Maybe we have a couple kids. And I'm like, oh, don't worry, David, I'll take care of you. You don't have to work.
That's right.
And like that's actionable.
Yeah,
Oh wow.
absolutely. It's a
Okay.
breach of
Did you know that?
I
contract.
didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody sign up.
That's right. That's like common law marriage type of thing.
Kind of. It's not automatic where it's like if I've been together for 7 years, you're legally married. There's got to be some sort of,
There's like like I said, you don't have to
Correct.
work. I'll take it. So inducement, right? Like
correct.
yeah.
So there's got to be some sort of, whether it's an express promise that were made, some sort of agreement, or even implied. So like an implied contract due to, several actions and stuff like that. So our civil practice is that sort of thing, families that we're working on their divorce, but they actually, they're dividing property business, but they put, the uncle's name in all of these houses and all of this. And now, the family's like, oh no, this is mine. And, wife or husband on the other side is saying, no, that was ours. He just used his name because of credit. So it's 50-50, not, the way the third. And so then that's potentially a civil action or joinder in family. So those are the type of civil cases that we do, not so much business like Mauricio does. So there are civil team, because there's separate attorneys who focus just on, civil cases. They handled those aspects, but they're still intertwined very much.
Like, say, what about? I have two questions because now I'm interested.
Now it became,
You know,
an interview.
No, because all our listeners can listen and say, "Oh, I didn't know that." But, so you say you have a lot of cross-border stuff.
Yes.
Like, what if they get married in Mexico, but they live here?
So we get that question all the time. They say, can I get divorced in California because we got married in Mexico? And the answer is, if you've been here for 6 months, yes.
No way, really?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
absolutely. So it's not.
And then do California laws apply?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they get married in Mexico, come up here 10 years, and you're locked in with a.
Yeah, yes. I mean, it gets a little bit more complicated than that sometimes, because in Mexico, you get married under, you get to choose whether you want to be married under separate property laws or community property laws. So, what that means is community property, we're going to share everything 50-50, and separate property is, what's mine's mine, what's yours is yours.
Yeah,
pretty
that's
much.
bienes, is that bienes mancomunados?
Bienes
Very common
mancomunados.
term. You'll learn this in law school.
I know, right? Yeah. I'm attending law school right now at UNAM.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we so far have done like, jurisprudence, like the very theoretical stuff. We're now on constitutional law. And yeah, definitely, man. And so we have 9 months, like 4 hours lecture a week, and then there's an exam and some stuff. So I'm looking forward to. I'll learn a little bit about family law. Yeah.
Yeah, but my question would be like, so once, let's say, a couple gets divorced in the U.S., will like Mexican courts actually take action over whatever the court decided here? Like, would they actually accept it?
Yes. I mean, that's a whole nother process, obviously. So we do work with attorneys in Mexico. So oftentimes we get a lot of clients that have, assets here. They live here. Their life is here, but their businesses, their source of income is in Mexico, right? So that happens so much. Or they have properties in Mexico. So it does become a lot of, most people tend to cooperate at some point, but if they don't, then it becomes an enforcement issue in Mexico. And then it's hiring attorneys in Mexico to enforce a judgment here and so forth, and vice versa too. Sometimes we get judgments to enforce here with property. So there's a lot of cross-border. But yeah, it doesn't matter where you got married. What matters is where you live.
What matters is if they call you.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's what's going to make the difference.
Yeah. And what about on the other side of the house? What is your law firm doing, Mauricio?
So my law firm is primarily what I like to call business law. So we're primarily business litigators. So any disputes that could potentially surround a business or it's in a contract, that's essentially what we deal with. Because of that, we also deal with the transactional or the setup of a business. And we honestly have from mom and pops to multimillion-dollar corporations. Funny, for a while they used to call me the taco shop king because we had a lot of different taco shops too that we were helping them with their setup. So that's primarily what we do. Anything that involves the business, we would be the point of contact. In that sense, I do have also a lot of international clients, a lot of clients from Mexico. As you guys are probably familiar with the maquiladoras in Tijuana, we have a lot of we'll call it companies that they have either la matriz, or the main company is in Mexico, and they have a sister company in the U.S. for purposes of sales. And so we assist with that setups and all the laws and the structure and agreements that need to happen in the U.S. So that's primarily what we deal with.
That's a lot of stuff.
It is. It's what I do. Similar to David, I was born in San Diego, but I grew up in Tijuana. So I know the culture, I know the people. I'm not an attorney there, but I'm very much familiar with the law as well. So that helps with the entire process and understanding when they tell me what type of entity they have over there, what's their relationship, how they want to do it, and the situation in the US. So that helps very much. I also have a lot of clients that have distribution in the US. So they have their product in the US, and it could be a food product, and they have distribution through the entire United States. So they need someone with experience with those laws in the United States with our process. So that is what we do.
What about if I just want to set up an LLC or like a nonprofit or a corporation? Do you
So
guys do that too?
yeah, of course. So that's the transactional side of it, things that we call it. And the way that I explain to clients is we do the litigation. That's our expertise. I've seen how these things go bad. I know where the mistakes happen. So let's set up right from the beginning. So that's a very, very important aspect. And I think in something that we're talking about it for the Latino community, I think that's a very important driving point that I always share with them. It's let's set it up right from the beginning. We have a saying as well, okay, lo barato sale caro, right? The cheap gets really expensive down the line. Why? Because, oh, I went to the notario or a friend told me X, Y, and Z. It's like, no, no, no. Let's get it right. Let's get your foundation correct so that you can have a successful business down the line.
Like spend the money now, not later, right?
Not only that, it honestly will cost you $1 today if you do it right. And if you do it wrong, it's probably going to cost you, if you're, I want to say tens of $1,000s, something happens. So that's a very important aspect of education, I like to say, right? It's like, hey, let's get it down correctly from the beginning.
And then Mauricio, I understand, like, for your cross-border practice that you have like a Mexican attorney at your office. Well, he's also an American attorney, right? But Mexican attorney. So we'll give a little shout out to Mario Bailon. Does he get involved with any of the Mexican law, like procedures, or does that help the understanding of some of the cases that you handle?
So very important. We are dedicated to U.S. law. We practice law in the U.S. We're attorneys in California. That's what we do. Yes, I do have an attorney that went to school in Mexico. He's licensed attorney in Mexico. He actually practiced in Mexico for quite some time. So that helps with the understanding. But we do not get involved with the legal process per se. I do have cases where we need to serve in Mexico or there's some sort of enforcement similar to Dolores. And at that point, we do have a bunch of different law firms in Mexico that we work with. And we hand out that entire process or work in conjunction with them. And I think it's the best thing. Let everybody do what they're best at. And so that's how we typically handle it. But knowing someone in-house that knows the law and knows the process, I think it's a key asset.
For sure. Definitely helpful. And how do you like making these connections with Mexican attorneys? For example, like yesterday we were down in Tijuana meeting with a firm from down there, a couple of partners. We had dinner, and it was a great exchange of one, on the legal side, casual side, but we were talking about like tort law in Mexico, right? And to us, it's like our understanding is that tort law, it exists in paper, but it's not actually practiced. So it was a great conversation. Like I'm assuming you enjoy these conversations with some of these colleagues from Mexico, right?
I mean, I do. And I think we all know what's happened in the last year, 2 years in Mexico with the judicial system. So I think all those conversations are also eye-popping for us. I was involved for a while. There was a group of attorneys from all of South America, Central America that were coming here for oral advocacy skills because they were changing the system in South America, going more towards oral advocacy. So as part of the instructors that was assisting with that, and I've also been involved in panels in terms of laws in the U.S. and Mexico and how that helps. So for me, it's always, again, shocking to a certain degree how the system works, learning. And a big reason of why I'm an attorney in California. You guys deal with what you do over there. But it's always welcome those conversations. Love to learn about how they handle it. But yeah, it's really two different worlds. That's the reality.
All right, you guys. So I have a question because a lot of our listeners are entrepreneurs, business people. Maybe they have their firm. So I'll ask each of you, like, how do you get business? How do you make the phone ring? And so, like, what are your strategies, and what do you do?
I think so. My strategy dates back to when I started, and that was laying a foundation. That was back then. It was getting out there, right? So, I mean, I was out meeting people, events, legal events, business events, anything I could attend, I would be there. And I did that for at least what, six, I don't know, a long time, 6, 7 years of just
You're out like 3
nonstop.
nights a week.
3, 4, 5, 6,
Yeah,
whatever's
oh,
out there,
man.
I'm
Yeah,
out
yeah,
there
yeah.
just making connections, meeting other professionals, getting, so I think that was very important for me, is, knowing people. And then now I kind of have that, somewhat established. And even back then, overlapping is online presence, social media, doing a good job for your clients so that you get referrals. We get a lot of referrals from other professionals. We get referrals from our own clients. So that's huge. And just staying really, involved still with the community. So I think there's just a lot to it, right? But when you're first starting, maybe you don't have the budget to be doing every single thing out there and you have to build on it. So for me, starting from zero, it was the cheapest thing was just me getting out there and meeting people, right? And then from there, you just start layering. It's like, okay, reinvesting into your firm and, investing in marketing, investing in people, investing, growing it from there. So right now, we pretty much do, everything out there for marketing.
Yeah, you complimenting like every single effort. And I follow your social media platform for a little while now, like on Instagram. But I see that a lot of your stars you get from the Reznik Law Group. At least a few videos that I've seen there. Which it makes sense. You guys still collaborate. I think I saw one with like Mauricio trying to like exchange papers with Mario. So some of the
That was a husband-wife pressure you guys doing scenario.
Okay, so that's really hard because I cannot get Mauricio to do social media with us. He's like, absolutely not. I'm not going to do this. So Mario, I think we got Mario a couple times, and like I said, we're one family. So I'm like, Mario, do you want to do this reel? And he says, yeah, sure, like I'll do it. And funny thing is, one of the reasons I approached Mario is because at the firm, it's all of the people in my firm are pretty much all females. So we don't really have any men, and it's not, by design. It just happened. And so sometimes I have ideas on specific reels, and I'm like, I need a guy to do this. So we go knock on the door. He's like, you're not coming to me for this. I'm like, okay. I'm like, Mario, please, can you help? He's like, yeah, I'll help you. So that's how that comes about with their cameos.
Yeah, interesting. Did it one like went like viral? I saw
we have
one.
We have one right now. I think it's almost at like 4 million
Wow.
views. And I mean, I still get about 100 comments a day, every single day, at least.
That's a lot of
Yeah,
engagement.
that's a lot. It's a lot of. I mean, every day, right? I wake up and it's like 100 new comments and 100. I mean, and it's been for well
Do
over
you
a
try to
month.
respond to that?
Yeah, I responded to maybe 1,000 comments, or maybe about, I don't know, maybe 500 comments or something like that. And then now I'm like, okay,
It's a lot. It takes a
a
long
lot.
time.
That's a lot. Yeah, that's a
Yeah, it
lot.
takes me a
So
long time, and I have my like 1,000 followers. Now I feel like an influencer here. Like 1,000.
Man, I get, what about you? Like I would imagine target client is a very different target client than her target client. Maybe they're not looking for funny reels. They're looking for, something a little different. Like, how do you feel like you get out there and grow your business?
And it is. And I mean, talking about social media, it's a completely different realm. Obviously, I don't do the fashion as much as they do. It's kind of hard. I even tell her sometimes, like, geez, what am I going to wear now? How much can I switch it around? But I do feel it's a different target. And I think from the Contreras law side of things, and Dolores can talk about it, I think she's taking a different approach that you typically see law firms do. And I love it, and it's had a great response. I've gone a little bit more traditional per se, but it is more has to do with business, a little bit educational, and it's more of a presence. Keep a presence, have people know that we are real people. You can see us if you call. That's who we are. in terms of how I started and getting out there, uh, a little bit different from Dolores in the sense that I started working from her and then I branched out. So when I branched out, I already had clients. So for me, it's been more of course, getting the online presence, getting with all those referral sources that we know, but it's very much been the repeat clients or word of mouth. And being that I grew up in the area and with people that I know, a lot of people in common, it's very much of like, oh yeah, call Mauricio. We know him from high school or junior high and all these different things. We live in Tijuana, but we have a business in San Diego. So it's been word of mouth. It's been from connections from growing up. And luckily it's been great to date.
Amazing. So I heard, do you guys have kids now? Did you say something about that?
We do.
Like how many, like how old?
We have twin boys.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 7 years old.
Oh, 7-year-old
Yeah.
twin boys.
They're little guys.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I have twins. I have boy-girl twins.
Oh, nice.
Are they different? The same?
So different in every aspect, from the way that they look to the way that they are. We've got one of our little 7-year-olds, Mateo. He's he's a redhead, so complete ginger. I mean, just bright red curly hair. And then our other little one, Isaac, he's brunette, and straight hair. So so very, very different personalities too. Our little red one, he's out there, he's the firecracker. And then our other one's a lot more calm and, thinks about things but it's fun. It's awesome. I mean,
Yeah. So David has a, pretty new son, and I have old kids and young kids, and so I've seen it. But what advice, would you guys give David or someone in the law kind of trying to, balance being, a good parent and a good lawyer and a good business person all at once?
It's hard. It takes work. I think definitely, um, take all the help you can get. When people offer to help, it's like take it, from your support around you. But for me as a mom, it's hard sometimes. It's you do balance. I love being an attorney. I love having my business. I love having my children. And there are times where, if I'm in trial, I don't get a whole lot of my children because I'm in trial. And then, but it's just balancing it where as soon as I'm done with my trial, I'm going to take a little bit more time to be with my children. And it's just knowing that there's different stages and there's different times and being okay with it. And there are times where you're going to be able to be a lot more present in certain things and other times where you're not. And I think it's just giving yourself grace with that. And knowing that, you still have, being a parent is amazing, but it's like you still have your business and you still have these things. And at the end of the day, I think I always remind myself that this is something that my kids are also taking with them. The fact that they see their parents, working hard at being with them, working hard at their job and being dedicated. And I think it's a great example for them growing up seeing that.
Agree. How about you?
I agree 100% on what she said. I think an important factor, and it's for us, it's very clear cut. We're both attorneys, and we're both litigation attorneys. And you guys know when it's litigation, it's litigation. You're at the office, and you got to deal with it, and you have to be there on the weekends, and you got to take those phone calls. But luckily, we understand that because we both live that world. So the fact that we both know that, we are able to complement and help each other out. So she says, hey, I have trial this week. I get it. I figure it out. So I would say this, not only to other attorneys, but maybe to their spouses, is to be comprehensive, understand the situation, and help out as much as we can. And I think that's a very, very important factor to make it work.
Oh, absolutely. I think, yeah, that's probably one of the biggest factors is the understanding because we're both attorneys. It's very, I've seen it, where it's hard. Sometimes it's like, well, why are you working so late? Or what's going on with this? And it's like, we don't have to explain that to each other at all. It's like, hey, I've got a trial this week. The answer is just, okay. And it's like, you're on full mode and vice versa. It's I know you might not get here I don't even know what time you're going to get home. And that's fine. And there's no questions and there's no like, well, what's going on? Or how are you going to make it to this? I know you're probably not going to make it to that, but I've got it. So that's actually been very helpful, useful in our relationship, is that, we're always call each other, we're always a team.
And that's why we drive separately to work.
Yeah. That's what I figured. I was like, somebody's bringing the kids to school in the morning, someone's picking them up, depending on the day. I was kind of envisioning that happening. But like having been through it myself, I have an 18-year-old now at UCLA, and I have 17-year-old twins, and then I have a 3-year-old. But like to your point, I think that a couple of things that validate like your thoughts about it. I think kids appreciate like full presence, like full, like deep focus on them more than full-time partial presence. You know what I mean? So like if you guys are in trial but you haven't seen Mateo for, 2 days, and but then it's Friday, you're dark and you're like, you're just on him. Like they like that. I feel like that's better.
Agree.
Yeah,
I think
like-
quality over quantity. And so we're very, very big on that. When we're with our kids, we are with our kids. We understand that we work, so we're often out of the house and we don't spend as much time as we would like with them. But the time that we do spend, it is quality. And it's amazing. And I think you're right. They absolutely appreciate that. And so we're very conscious of that.
Yeah, think about like, you could have a parent that's a firefighter and they're over at the station like for 3 or 4 days. Like that's just their schedule, or the military. But then they come back and they're like, like and the second thing I was going to say to your point, like my kids, pretty much my older kids now, like forever, there was no mention of being a lawyer. I couldn't really tell like if they understood what I was doing. But now like they've all had very, very good success and they all want to do what I do. And you can see it at the end. They're very appreciative and admiring of, their parents that work hard and have success, so we do set a good model. So here's the thing. There's really there's no excuses for not working hard, David. I don't want to hear about it.
There is absolutely no excuse. It's like you can do it. You can do it. You can really do it all.
Yeah, and I've been adjusting. It's actually been working out well. And I think I'm doing that. Like where, for example, we've had a couple of like long nights, events, etc.
When they were down in Mexico?
Yeah, like yesterday, and then we had the dinner on Tuesday. But then, for example, Friday comes, and I know like that whole evening, I'm just gonna spend the time with my 7-month-old baby. The same thing happened last weekend. We have this, bio trip. I was out Saturday, came back on Sunday, but Sunday afternoon was just the baby. Yeah. Like baby and me, and then I left my wife so she could like go around and drive and take her mind out of it.
That's the key.
She also needs the help. But for me, I think I was lucky. I've been married for a little while, and she lived law school with me, so she knows exactly like the struggle that I had then, and that's paying out now. So she knows like still gotta put in the time. But it's great, she's at home, she's with the baby, so that's a lot of support. So I'm very grateful for that. So I'll share this with her when it's out.
Yeah. No, I love it. So, a lot of our listeners also are, younger kids contemplating, going into law, contemplating their future. And so, we've been in it, me the most, you guys a little bit too. Like you've been in the law for a while. One, would you say, yeah, it's still a good idea and time to be a lawyer? And if so, what advice would you give them?
I do. I think at the end of the day, you need to do what you feel is going to make you happy and what you want to do, whatever that may be. And if law is a calling, it's like, go for it, do it. It's a wonderful career. It is not something that I would say like, oh, why did I do this? Like, I love being a lawyer, and I'm very, very happy that I did. I think if I had to give somebody advice, once they do become an attorney, be selective where you start working. I see how, if you want to it's hard because, you just went to law school. You don't even know about law firms. You don't know about attorneys. But it's like, do your due diligence. Ask about the law firms. Ask about the attorneys. Ask about the reputation, because you want to get started with good habits. You want to get started with somebody who's going to lead you in the right direction, and that you don't become, an attorney who's just maybe not, doesn't present well in court, for example, but that you have good leadership so that you're able to build the proper skills. And I think that sometimes people, they finish law school and it's like, oh, I got offered this job. And maybe it's not the best firm to be at, and you might not get, the best skills and grow your career. So I think that being selective and doing your due diligence, not just taking any job.
That's good advice.
I would tell them do it too. In my point of view, or my experience, I didn't love law school, to be honest. I don't know many attorneys that do. And so when I was in law school, most of the time I was looking for opportunities to get out of law school. So I did a lot of internships. I did internships with the federal defenders here in San Diego. Actually, I did with the DA's office in San Francisco. And then I got involved with a law firm that's where I actually ended up working, the Med-Mal. And I literally walked into this law firm. It wasn't the best idea, but I was out for a bike ride like I typically do. And I'm wearing out my biking outfit and I see a law firm and the door's open. I was like, why not? Knocked on the door and I was like, hey, do you guys need any free hands? Willing to help out. And it all developed to like come back, dress up like a normal person, bring your resume. And that's how I got my foot in the door. So what I would say is go out there. And if you can, the opportunities are there, knock on doors, try to get to see what you like. We go to law school and we just become attorneys. We're not IP attorneys. We're not Med-Mal attorneys. We're not PI attorneys. We're just attorneys. But in that same is like, get out there, see what you can do. And at the end of the day, something that for me was very important when I was doing law school, if for whatever reason you do not end up being an attorney, you have a great resume. Doing law school is serious business, and employers appreciate that. They see that you're a caliber person, you went through this experience, you can help with business, you can help with a lot of different management things. So do it. Definitely go and do it.
And it also gives you that platform, that basis for whatever job you want to do. Right? I was very appreciative of that. And I felt like, after my first year of law school, it just changed like the way I thought about things and how you analyze. So imagine put those skills in another type of area, it's just still going to help. So I think that's great advice. Well, that's cool. So you did, DA's office, federal defenders. That's how you get a lot of experience during law school, right? Because it gets you in the court.
Yeah. Yeah. And then a lot of funny stories, but a really, really quick one. I was with the federal defenders. And back in the day, I was part of the investigation team. And so I go to the holding tank and they are doing interviews and they need an interpreter. And well, I'm the only one there, right? And it's like, well, they asked the attorney there, can we use him? Yeah, pretty quickly. So I go through it. I'm doing the entire report. I'll tell you there was a crazy scene involving a lot of drugs. The guy turns to me and says, I want you to represent me. This is me, a 17-year-old. And it's just because of the communication, because I was able to understand him and speak the language. I wasn't giving any advice whatsoever. I was just interpreting here. But it just tells you about the connection. And for people who are Latino or who speak Spanish or have the opportunity to do it, embrace it. It is a very, very important tool, and use it. It's going to help you a lot. That's the reality.
That's great advice. That's a great story.
It opens a lot of doors. Speaking Spanish
I was going to say
so many doors.
Yeah, because you both are bilingual and your Spanish is perfect, no accent. Do you find that being an advantage to some of these people that
Huge.
Maybe cultural?
Huge.
Absolutely. 100%.
There's so many cases that I get where they were first being represented by a fully Anglo speaker and they felt they could not understand each other. And they come to me and the case is a total mess because they were not seeing eye to eye. And I'm like, it's actually really straightforward. You guys were not understanding each other. And the fact that I can explain it in their own native language in simpler terms, it's very, very important. And that's why I think it's a very big advantage. And it helps in a wide variety of ways.
Yeah, same here. And even taking it a step further, aside from the language, it's the culture, right? In family law, how you raise children, things that you say, in Spanish, especially in Mexico, sometimes the nicknames aren't when they're translated, they're not very kind, right? So that can be used against you by another parent saying, well, he keeps calling my kid fat. And it's like, well, if you're like, oh, do you call your kid fat? It's like, well, yeah, I do. And it's like, that looks really bad. It's like, why are you calling your kid fat? But in Spanish, it's very common. It's like gordito, like, hey, gordito, gordo, come over here. And it's a term of endearment. But if you don't understand the culture, it's like, geez, like my client, he's like, this is not going to look good in front of the judge unless your judge speaks Spanish. But if they don't, just exactly in a custody battle, he's fat shaming my child. He's doing this. I mean, people say all kinds of stuff, right, to gain advantage. So it's important to understand the culture and, be able to explain this and say, look, it's like, this is what this means or this is what it is. And, to that extent. So it's not just the comfort of being able to really express yourself and for your attorney to understand you, but the cultural part too.
I love that. What's our saying, John? Binacional.
Binacional, bicultural, and best in class. Yeah, you got to have all three, right? All right, so kind of wrapping up here, Dolores, if people want to find you, learn about your law firm, where would be the best place to look?
Yeah, so social media or at Contreras Law Firm, and our website, ContrerasLawFirm.com. So just everything Contreras Law Firm.
Easy.
Yep.
All right, how about you, Mauricio?
It's Reznik Law Group, and that's our website, ReznikLawGroup.com. We also have social media, Reznik Law Group. You can find us there. Feel free to give us a call. We'll gladly chat in English or Spanish.
Oh, I love it. Very good. So any
I was just going to
concluding
say,
questions?
no, basically, I think, we end up usually with, you're writing in the sky. I feel like that's perfect.
Also trava.
Also trava.
Final thing. Well, I'm just pointing up. Sorry. So here you can. Let me see if you can deliver it.
Yeah. So John's a big fan of Also Trava. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's a podcaster in Mexico and invites all these celebrities. And let me see if I get this right. If not, you gotta correct me. So if you had the chance of writing something in the sky with like clouds, for everyone to see in the world, like what would it be? And I'll start with you, Dolores.
Whoa.
For like all eternity.
For attorneys?
For
Or
everyone.
For everyone.
For everyone to see.
See, he gets more time to think now.
I'm like, you go first.
I'll go first. And this is not necessarily attorney, but I think, David, you mentioned it very briefly about my affiliation with Team Hoyt. And if people are not familiar with that, just go look it up at Team Hoyt San Diego. Amazing organization that helps kids with different disabilities for purposes of inclusion. And their logo is, yes, you can. That's very important. You can do it. You can figure out. Let's go do it.
All right, yes, you can.
Impactful. Love that. How about you, Dolores?
I think something short, just like every day is a gift, maximize it.
I love it. Those are two good ones. If you take both those together, then you're going to have great success and satisfaction in your life. So thank you guys for being here. It was a real pleasure to get to know you, learn a little bit about, your path to today, and, the work that you do, your passions. Obviously, you guys are excited about life and law and each other and the world, and every day is a gift. And yes, we can. So thank you guys for being on the podcast. Really appreciate it. This concludes this episode of the Lawtino podcast. If you like what you heard, give us a thumbs up, share us, tell a friend. We are interested in growing together as a Latino community and really supporting each other, lifting each other up. I think we're all here for each other. So hope you enjoyed this episode. We sure did. So signing off, this episode is in the books.
Perfect. Thank you again.